Ready for 10 o'clock?
Coming to you live, it's the AutoHub show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? I was at Larry Coleman's seminar. So happy I came, having such a good time. Thank you so much, Larry.
One of the best trainers in this area for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but as far as I know, he's the best. So,
told you twice.
Take advantage.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm at Larry Feldman's seminar, and what I've found is that what he's really good at doing with his knowledge and with his training, he's not filling a bucket, he's lighting a fire.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money we spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell, I'm Service Director at JM Lexus.
So I had a couple books. So the first book that there's a couple books here that were interesting. Outliers from Malcolm Gladwell, if you're not familiar with him, he's pretty interesting. I think he's originally Canadian. Interesting guy. Story of Success, Never Finished, which is the new David Goggins book. Very, very good. And then, of course, Extreme Ownership. Jocko and his partner there, Leif Babin, really good book for motivation and also ownership from a business and military point of view. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us in one person's case. Good afternoon. And, of course, as usual, our disclaimers, the views and opinions of those expressed today are those of our guests and not necessarily that of Ian and Jeff and the AutoHub show.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
And then we have upcoming shows. So one today, how to be an automotive trailblazer. We have our customer happiness show. Exciting new EV hitting the road part 2. So EVs in 2025, and then salespeople paid plans. And I can't read it on here anyway, the paid plans and actually retaining and staff. Also, there will be some video up from SEMA. I'm going to be at SEMA this year. And if you are going to Used Car Week, Scottsdale, Jeff and I and both our wives will be there in person. So there's some details there. So let's get into it. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, another great show. And also I do want to remind everybody about our brand new AutoHub advisory panel, which is meeting the last day of, or the last broadcast day of every month instead of us sleeping in. And we're going to cover various topics with some great people, good friends, many of whom are here. So thank you very much. So moving right forward to today's show. We've got some great guests, some great opinions. The show is about how to be a trailblazer and, more importantly, how to be a troublemaker. And these days in our industry, a lot of people aren't blazing any trails and just not causing trouble because they're just going along. And what is it? The Borg in Star Trek go by an assimilation. We will assimilate, and everybody is assimilating. You want to get to Mitsubishi Mirage, you must get the entire paint correction package and the big wheels if you want to get one. Actually, not, because I'm sure there's lots of Mirages. First guest was the first person who joined us this morning as our official guest other than Peter, which we get to talk about the Ferrari shirt story. But there's Brian Motes. Brian, congratulations on the exciting new position for you, and we'll get you to introduce yourself. and answer this question after you tell us all the cool stuff, which is, can you really trailblaze today in a retail automotive? Brian?
Well, thanks for having me. So yeah, so just quickly I've been blessed with the opportunity to join as the chief operating officer of a company named Onboardian, which is it's a technology, but ultimately a technology that enables people to be trailblazers, in my opinion, in the automotive space. So we'd love to share more about that. Don't want to be a pitch fest here from that perspective, but it's an exciting new technology that I think, brings some opportunities. Kind of talking a bit about that from talking about being a trailblazer. I think it is difficult to be a trailblazer. It's very difficult to be a trailblazer in the retail environment because we are focused daily on what we have to do today, right? Being a trailblazer you have to think into the future. You have to have a moonshot. You have to say, who do we want to be? What do we want to accomplish? What do we want? Kind of culture do we want? And I think that's the biggest opportunity for trailblazing in retail automotive. And it's not something that's unheard of. We've done it in other industries. We've done it in franchising, whether it's Chick-fil-A or whether we've done it at Nordstrom or whether we've done it at other retail developments that are out there. But unfortunately, in my opinion, true organizational development, being human-centric organizations, it's difficult when you're in a dispersed retail environment for many reasons. And that's what I think that's the next trailblazing path in retail automotive, is for organizations to evolve and grow into human-centric organizations. And it's something I've worked on at Lincoln and Ford. I think we accomplished a little bit of it at Lincoln. But so no, to answer your question, I don't think it's impossible. I think it's very, very difficult. And I think we need to be able to enable our leaders to be trailblazers by giving them, not just point solutions, not just tactics, not just band-aids, but getting to the root of the problem, that we're not a human-centric industry. So that's my
Well, thank you very much. And by the way, is that www.onboardian.com. Here, I'll put it for you. Next, we have with us our very dear friend Wendy Reed, joining us from the sun capital of the freaking world, the Phoenix area. And Wendy, can you answer that question, please? Hi, thanks for being here. And can you really trailblaze today in retail automotive?
Absolutely. I think now more than ever. There are things that we have discussed in automotive for over 30 years that are just now starting to take shape and be implemented into our industry. Am I right? Any of you guys, all of you guys, most of you are OGs. And I think that it's difficult. It's going to take perseverance and it's going to take consistency. You have to we'll get into that when you ask us how we're going to do it, right? But like anything else, we have to be consistent and we have to persevere and we have to, don't listen to the naysayers. Whatever it is in your mind, the way that you want to trailblaze, you want to affect change, which, come on guys, we go in cycles in automotive. So what's happening now has happened before. And before, and before, and before. So we just need to keep the conversations going so they get to the ears of a couple of people who are going to take the lead. And that's how it starts.
Well, thank you. And of course, Wendy is with BDC Angels. Of course, let's put link in there, which is www.bdcangels.com or whatever it is. Before I turn it over to Ian, I do have to say we talk about trailblazers and what's in the news, in the LinkedIn news all week, and Peter, you be quiet, please, is our good friends at Tesla, who are trailblazers. Look at us, we created electric cars, a new way of doing business, not the good old-fashioned car business. And there's a whole new term to the word upside down if you're a Tesla owner. And holy snapping turtles, but that's for the EV show. Moving right along, Ian.
Well, actually, it's interesting that you bring up them because they do have a new design for the Model 3, and interestingly, they raised the price, which is kind of interesting. So it'd definitely be interesting to see where that roller coaster ride goes. But when you're looking at...
If you're not a fan, I dare you to tell me what the difference is.
It's a redesign. What are you talking about? Anyway, things are good right now. Why bother doing anything different? Or should we just wait until we have to do anything different? So... Brian, why don't you start with that? I mean, you know, it's great. It's the last 2 years have been the best ever in a lot of opinions from a lot of dealers. What do you think? Why should we do something different?
Well, I mean, this is at the end of the day, it's going to come to an end, right? I mean, we know that these great times and these it's artificial demand that is going to come to an end. And I say it all the time. Why would you wait until you're forced to do something, and then you have to do things that aren't well thought out, aren't well planned, aren't put into production, and you're never going to make the right decisions. You're never going to achieve the things you need to achieve, which is sustainability. That's what Wendy was talking about. Like, we've been trying to do this, and it's a sustainability issue. We run into issues of putting consistent practices in place, being able to hire the right people, put the processes in place, have the right mindset. So, this is when you should be investing in that, is when things are a little bit easier. And you're not necessarily, because a lot of times this type of change, it can ultimately impact monthly revenue. Like, when you put change in place, you might see a dip, and that's where people usually abandon. Like, oh, hell no, we can't. We were selling 40 cars a month. We only sold 35. It's got to be this new thing we're doing. Abandon and go back to the way we were doing it because we made a dip. And you're always going to have, when you're trying to implement something new, a new mindset, a new process, a new technology, a new whatever, you might have a little bit of disruption to business. And you got to weather through that for 30, 60, 90 days. The problem is we don't have the mindset in this industry to do that. So we always we do something for 30 days and then we jump out because it disrupted business too much. And so, that's really, this is like short answer is this is the only time and the best time to start thinking about how do we sustain and really build, better organizations.
You mean planning 30 days at a time? Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
No, wait a minute, plan 30 days after.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I stand corrected. Thanks for that. Wendy? You're muted, by the way. There you go.
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, are you calling on me?
Yeah, I'm asking you the same question.
Oh,
What do you
I
think?
want to add to what Brian said. It's a thought just crossed my mind. We talk about how post-COVID everybody wants instant gratification. Look at automotive. Look at our dealers. Look at when we come in as vendors to fix a broken system wherever it's at. They've always wanted instant gratification. I had night and day experiences where, yes, there's an issue. Yes, you have someone who can help you, whatever. But then if there's someone out here, there's a new GM or there's whatever that thinks that a person is the fix-all, et cetera, you can go either way with these things because they want instant gratification, and nothing is fixed at 30 days. Nothing. You have to go 30, 60, 90. You have to look for incremental growth, and you stop the way we've always done it mentality. So yeah, good stuff, Brian, definitely.
Yeah, and I think Peter has his virtual hand raised, so go ahead, Peter.
Well, yes, I do. Thank you for letting me in on this one. We're in an industry that employs 1 in 5 people indirectly or directly in North America. We're massive. Yet we're probably the only industry that operates on a 30-day cycle. We are so fearful of getting out of that 30-day cycle. We don't look long term. We don't look down the road. We don't look to change the development of our industry for the better and actually treat it like a business, not the car lot. And we operate in that manner because the OEMs force us on a 30-day cycle. The stakeholders force us on a 30-day cycle, and we forget that to actually become successful, we have to look long term and look at total as a long-term vision and total customer value. If we looked at that, we would trailblaze tremendously because we would retain customers. Right now, we're losing 70% of customers right off the bat. 70% will never return to your dealership after purchasing a car. Why is that? Because of the experience. Doug Riggs and I have been talking from A to Z Sync. I've been talking about transforming from the customer experience model to the dealership experience model. And once we get to the dealership experience model, we can, Richard Branson always says it, treat your employees better and they will treat your customers better. And that's what we have to start looking at. We have to look at a holistic endeavor that is it's a global endeavor. And once we do that, we'll become human-centric. We will become trailblazers, and it only takes, as Wendy says, it needs a couple key individual people out there to jump on it, and then it will just steamroll from there. We'll be giant, and Wendy wouldn't experience this where she is, but it will snowball with that. So,
But she has all them snowbirds. I want to challenge that comment though, Peter, because we have discussed here till we're blue in the face, Sewell Automotive in Dallas.
Yep.
They are wildly successful. They are world famous. They make that's right, gobs of money. I read that. I don't want to admit being old enough to how long ago I read that and how I was like, it's almost Bible-like to me. Trailblazer, troublemaker, yet you can count on one hand, in any major city, how many dealers actually do business 70% of the way that they do. So they're a trailblazer, they're a troublemaker. They started doing this in the 80s?
mm-hmm.
Yet it hasn't snowballed. Their costs are down, their turnover's down. They make more money than they know what to do with, and they probably make more money in there. I think they just have 2 stores now, right?
No, they have 16.
So they have dozens between, and then if you had Colin, what Colin's got over in Midland, Odessa, and what he's done at Sewell Ford and Lincoln over at Midland, Odessa, and the other store, the BMW store that he has. I mean, so he's not necessarily part of the Sewell organization, but he's certainly a descendant of that entire family. So I think
are they all the same way?
Colin believes in providing a 4 seasons. He is literally consumed with 4 seasons, and so he believes in delivering a 4 seasons experience at his dealership. If you've never been to Sewell Ford Lincoln in Midland, it is otherworldly what they do there, and it's literally like the Taj Mahal in the desert of Midland, Odessa, is where Colin has his new Ford Lincoln store. They have over 100 bays in service that are all climate controlled. You can eat off the floor. People literally are moving to Odessa to be a part of his service team. And then if you walk into the showroom, they have a restaurant that's a part of it. I mean, like a 4-star restaurant that's in their showroom. And you walk around the lobby of the Ford Lincoln store, and it's literally modeled after a lobby of a 4 seasons hotel. And they deliver it with the people that they do. And this is in Midland, Odessa, where they don't even have to do it, but they do anyway.
And they probably sell 1,000 cars a month.
Absolutely, they're one of the
question is,
in the country.
I'm good. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. My question is this, which moves into the next question is, they're wildly successful. That group of 14, 15 stores, I don't know how many, but there's another one. They do more net profit than very likely all but anybody, but let's say AutoNation with 350 stores or Lithia or whatever. Why don't we all jump into this thing? It's cheaper. He's got a 4-star restaurant, and his overhead, his annual budget, or whatever you want to call it, his P&L are way better, and his return on investment is way better than all these other people that are doing business the easy way.
Because he believes in people over profit, and at the end of the day, a lot of other dealers put profit over people. But he understands that if he invests in his people, invest in the infrastructure, ultimately profit will come. Like it's not that he's not
profit, isn't it?
It's not that he doesn't care about money, doesn't care about profit. He just understands there's a better, more sustainable path to get there, and it's through people and people systems, and not only that, he understands that they're not in the car business. We don't sell cars. We provide experiences that sell cars. We don't fix cars. We provide experiences that fix cars, and he gets that. But he also, like I said, he's from a 4 seasons mindset. It blows my mind to some degree, because I've worked in this space from a advisory and consultative path for the better part of the last 10 years. But everybody complains about not being able to hire people. Can't find people, can't hire people, it's hard. The the hospitality industry and restaurants have literally, like Johnson and Wales, it's a premier 5-star school that people go to literally get a college education to go work in a restaurant. Arguably one of the hardest industries on the planet to work in is hospitality and restaurants. Far harder, in my opinion, than working and selling cars in a dealership. The hours are horrible. The rigor of the work is more horrible. Yet people go to college to learn how to do that and go to work in an industry. And you look at insurance sales. You look at anything to do, any other industry, real estate, hospitality, insurance. They all have certifications. They all have training programs. They all have college programs. What do we have? We hire anybody who can fog a mirror and carry on a conversation, and then don't train them, throw in the deep end of the pool and see if it works. And then if it doesn't, then we move on. And that's why we have unbelievably high turnover. And then they wonder why people don't return. Well, because when they return, the salesperson that was there with them has left and gone on. Well, now they have nothing sticky. So it's a never-ending constant loop that there's all kinds of knowledge and information and technology that's out there now from other industries that have figured this out about how to ultimately build human-centric organizations. And it's time as an industry that we need to start tapping into it and understanding that there's people out there that want to do this work, that can provide this work. And it's not always about money either. You look at Disney. Disney pays terrible, but yet they've got more resumes per day, people wanting to go to work at Disney than any place on the planet, because people love going and doing the work for Disney. So we can find people. We just have to understand that when we find them, we have to build systems, sustainable systems, human-centric systems of how to hire, onboard, train, develop, and ultimately cultivate the talent systems inside of our dealerships.
Let me just jump in 1 second.
Please.
In what Brian is saying there, and this is something that I find absolutely incredible, and this is a plug to his company, is that our typical onboarding consists of, there's your computer, there's the lot, there's the key room, there's where we hang the dealer tags. Go out and drive a couple cars, come back and tell me what you think of them. And your business cards will be here in a week because we didn't know if you'd show up. And we don't want to, that's how we onboard people. There's no orientation, there's no nothing, and we have an extremely high turnover rate. That turnover rate we don't equate with cost, because we just say, as Brian said, we'll just replace you with someone else who can fog up the mirror, because this business is always being a business where it's the last opportunity, not the first choice. So we look at it, hey, well, we'll just take anybody. Now, one of the craziest things that I noticed is when we were with NADA for onboarding for a technician is a 1-year program. They've designed a 1-year program. They don't have anything for sales. Nothing. Not a single thing for onboarding sales. So it's you want to be a trailblazer? Look at an onboarding program for sales. I designed one that mirrors that of the tech, and it will reduce your cost overall. But again, you have to be a trailblazer. You have to jump where no one has jumped before.
And here's the question. Okay, so what can dealers actually do today? And Wendy, I'm going to turn to you, so they can move forward differently, onboarding, following the Sewell thing, and doing this without upsetting the gravy train. Because right now, that gravy train is going downhill, the dead pedal's right to the floor, and there's no kill switch. What can they do differently to actually do that without upsetting that gravy train? Wendy.
So believe it or not, I'm gonna reference Jacqueline Elliott in this, because she's the wife of a local trainer here, Andy Elliott, and she talks about, there's some really interesting things that she talks about in a personal sense, but that relate to business. And this is the one about how two partners, personal or business, can get along better if you leave all the historical stuff in the rearview mirror, right? Don't look back, we're not going that way, right? Same thing in the dealership. You have to get all the historical things that are clogging your mind out. Just get rid of them the way we used to do it. Who cares how we used to do it? We're being reactive right now. We're not being proactive. And use any cliche you want, right? The definition of insanity, whatever it is you want. They keep putting band-aids on things and looking for the magic pill or the magic something. None of it is magic. You have to commit to the fact that you want to change. Change is ugly in the beginning, it's messy in the middle, and it's beautiful in the end. So you have to give it a chance. You have to decide, first of all, identify your pain points. What is it that you need to change? And I gotta tell you guys, again, referencing a couple recent visits, is that a lot of it starts with the culture in the dealership. And if you got a messed up culture and you don't see your people and the buy-in doesn't start at the top and trickle down, I mean legit buy-in, not just lip service, then whatever you do, whatever you try, it's not going to work because you have a rotten core. So you have to fix what's up in your culture, in your store, and then attempt if you want lasting, sustainable change.
You're 100% right. It's 100% right. I mean, it's about intentionality, right? People think, like, I'm like, culture happens whether you do it. I mean, you have a culture. The question is, are you intentional about building it? And you have a vision, a clear path of the culture you want to create, or are you just letting it happen on its own? But you have a culture regardless. So, and a lot of people just don't understand that. They don't understand of what that means, and it kind of goes back again to that human-centric, function that Peter and I have talked about a couple of times. And I mean, I'll build on that. I mean, Jeff, and not to be a plug for onboarding, but I think we're the first of its kind from a technology perspective. And it's never about the technology; it's about what the technology enables. And what we lack in this industry are organizational systems and tools and structures to make change sustainable and lasting. Like, and as soon as a GM moves on, or as soon as a GSM moves on, or as soon as anybody moves on, everything you've worked on gets thrown out the window. And so, but that's what I'm so excited about being in onboarding, and why I landed there, and why I love being there, is because we provide a pathway and a foundation through technology and mobile, social, and collaboration to actually start doing the work, putting in the structure, the mindset, the onboarding, all these things, and have them be sustainable, because they're sustained through technology, and they're sustained through solid, behavioral and industrial organizational psychology and org development strategies and practices that have been used for years in other industries that now we can finally start to deploy in the automotive space. And so that's why I'm so excited about onboarding, because I feel like that's what's ultimately has been lacking, is the strong, foundation and structural support. So anyways, that's kind of my take. I mean, it's a fascinating conversation. You can't tell I'm extremely passionate about it. And I love that we're having the conversation. I love that, Wendy and Peter's take on it, and everybody else's take on it as well, because it's a long overdue conversation of what needs to happen in this industry when it comes to ultimately truly building human-centric organizations.
No, well, thank you very much. I'm going to go to Wendy. Of course, she put her hand up very quickly.
Yeah, real quick.
Sorry, Wendy, I was just going to say, we have to have this conversation. Yet, if you were to poll dealers, you probably get 75% of dealers respond that they have a very good culture at their dealership. And yet, all we hear is it's probably in the single digits. Wendy.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Brian said and onto what I said. So it's not about, make sure your culture is perfect or anything like that. It's about make sure you have the right people in place. Because when you start adding a tech stack, you have to make sure that you don't forget the human element that's going to be the glue that holds all the pieces together and ultimately delivers that customer experience to our shoppers.
Yeah, for sure, by all means.
Jeff, my response to that always is like, look, the numbers don't lie. And the fact is that, when you poll consumers, right, we're talking about something almost everybody goes through around buying a car, whether used or new. 83% of respondents always tell you that at least part of the process is broken. And then from an approval rating perspective, we're worse than the US Congress. And people would rather get a root canal than buy a car. So if you say it's not me, it's the guy down the street, but I can promise you it's you. If you don't understand what you need to be doing, how you need to be looking at the experience you're providing, not only for your people, but for your consumers, if you think you're perfect, I can promise you you're not. And you are part of the statistic. You are, when they say, people visit 1.2 dealers before buying the car. If you tell me that you're not the guy, then you're definitely the 0.2. You're the one that they leave because they've had a bad experience. You're the one with the highest turnover. If you can't openly and candidly humble yourself and admit that we can all ultimately improve, grow, put systems in place. If you're telling me that, hey, we're perfect, our culture is perfect, we have great CSI, it's the other guys down the street that's a problem, not us. Let's take a look, because I can almost promise you I can find all the words inside your organization about why it is ultimately you.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, there's lots wrong with the process, and from a customer point of view, and obviously from a dealer point of view to a certain degree, whether they're aware of it or not. But in order to change that, which we all want to do, obviously want to get the industry better one show at a time. That's our mantra. What's the one thing that dealers could do today to really become that trailblazer, but more importantly, to create that customer-centric experience, not only for their staff, but for their customers? I mean, what do you think?
For me, it's mindset. I mean, you have to believe. I mean, you have to be a Carl Sewell. You have to believe. You have to, within every fiber of your being, understand that we want to be a Four Seasons. We want to be a Nordstrom. We want to be, a Chick-fil-A who can do it. If they can do it for a chicken sandwich, we can certainly do it for a car. Like, you have to have the mindset and the belief. And I get it. In this industry, we're cynics. Because everybody's sold the next greatest thing, the silver bullet, this is going to solve all your problems, it's going to do everything for you, and then it doesn't, or we don't follow through. Like, as industry partners, we've created a very unhealthy, toxic relationship with dealers because we haven't fulfilled, we haven't delivered. We sell technology, we sell platforms that don't ultimately do what they're supposed to do. We don't put effective training in place to teach end users actually how to actually use it on a daily basis in their job, and so that. It's been an unhealthy relationship for a number of years. And so I get it. The dealers are cynics. We get it. If you look at the customers, it's an 80-20 rule, right? 10% of the top, they'll lay down, they'll do anything, they'll pay whatever you say, they'll agree to any terms, and they'll also bring you cookies and cards at Christmas, but that's not your traditional customer, right? So you can't build your business model off of them. But the same token goes for the bottom 10% that are the true pain in the butts that we don't want to deal with, that we should probably fire as customers. They come in, they literally make it their life's mission to want to haggle with you, want to get you to the lowest bottom dollar. They don't care about experience. But we understand that those are the ones that leave the legacy, the lasting legacy in the mindset of customers they're just gonna take you. They don't care. They don't want experience. They only want the best deal because we spend the most time with them, and so we automatically believe that they're the majority of consumers, when in all reality, it's the 80% in the middle that just want a fair deal. And they just want a good experience, and they just want it to be easy. But we don't build our business processes for the 80% in the middle. We build them for the bottom 10%.
So
we build it for the cynic in us.
So how do you convince?
Looking at the data and understand that not everybody wants just a bottom dollar deal. Most people want an experience. Most people want a better experience, and most people want to do a good job in their work. So it's just about shifting mindset and looking at the facts and the data to understand that there are good people out there that want to do great work. There are good people out there that want a great experience when they buy their car, and it's believing in that. And Wendy's point, starting from the very, very top, the mindset has to be from the dealer principal, from the GM, that we are going to create a human-centric organization.
So how do you convince the dealer? How do you convince that dealer that, say, in the bottom 50% or in the bottom 70% that says, yeah, it's just about money, it's not about customers?
What do you say to them?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the facts. I mean, look at the dealer groups. Look at Carl Sewell. There's other dealer groups out there that are like Carl Sewell. Carl Sewell's not the only one. I mean, he certainly was a pioneer, did it first, but there's others out there. Number one, and number two, there's tons of customer surveys that are out there and data and facts that show that people will ultimately pay more for better experiences. They will also be more loyal for better experiences. We may not be able to look in our own industry, but human behavior is human behavior. And the fact is the facts are in when it comes to experience. When you look at Uber, when you look at, what's the shoe company? I always forget.
Nike.
No,
Yeezy.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Kidding.
You're talking about the one that Amazon owns now. I'm trying to remember the name.
You look at Zappos.
Zappos, yep.
Zappos. I mean, the facts are in that people are looking for experience. They want connectivity. They want something that they care about. They want a better experience. They want it to be easy, and they'll pay for that, and they'll be loyal for that. It's just about it's just about having the conversation. And look, if they won't believe, there's always Moore's curve of adoption, right? So you got innovators, then there's always a lag, then you got early majority, and so you just gotta right now, you gotta seek out those that are either innovators or those that are already kind of believing and want to believe in it. And then everybody else, the tail, won't wag the dog. We have to just create more trailers.
Brian, I have to challenge the comment. And I'm going to ask everybody on this call, everybody, John, etc., Wendy, Peter. The data is there. We all know this. Everybody here is thinking the same way. The data is there. The proof is there. It's obvious. We know this. Every single person in this industry sees this data over and over and over and over again. Why in hex half acre? I'm not a swearer. Oh, yes, I know. Why is it that we're in this boat again and again and again? We know it works. Why?
I think it's resistant to change. I mean, it's kind of funny. I don't know if you saw this lawsuit in the U.S. against Taco Bell and Burger King. But basically, they're selling one type of product, whether it be good or bad for you, and it's not as advertised. And people are going, yeah, like I understand that it isn't going to be exactly like this photo, but it's not even close. And I thought that was interesting just because when you look at the car industry experience from a manufacturer's point of view, they're selling the car. They're saying, oh, this is the car. But then when they get to the dealer, is that what you're buying, or are you buying a different experience than that? So it's very interesting just as you look through this. A lot of it is just the bar is set here, but it could be set here. And really the dealer's got to say, listen, I'm either in on that customer experience and I want to retain customers and grow my business, or I'm really just about money. And I thought that was really interesting as we look at this from a different industry perspective. And obviously restaurant business is a good example there. And it's interesting to see that dealers in a lot of cases created not only not a great experience over the last couple of years, but in some cases probably a worse experience, because not only were they charging all the money, they weren't providing a better experience at the same time. So
you say what? If you don't want to buy it, there's 5 other guys behind you that will buy it. And so if you don't, and so yeah, you're right. It's ultimately created some really bad habits again, and probably even to some degree validated some of their biases or beliefs about what people will or won't do. And it's false. It's a false environment. But Jeff, I mean, I'll just what I believe is what ultimately why it hasn't happened is because, to your point, ultimately growth, evolution, change is always hard. It's always hard. I mean, it's why people still smoke. It's why people do things. Human behavior is a difficult thing. And so there's been books and studies and Who Moved My Cheese and all the different things that have been out there, but you have to have a commitment to it. You have to kind of commit. That's why I changed the word from change to growth, right? It's about growth. It's about evolution. It's about, continuing to do things better. It's about constant improvement. It's about, understanding change management. And so for me, why it's ultimately not taken, and this is not just an automotive problem. Like, this is a dispersed workforce retail problem. It's been a problem forever. It's been a problem in restaurants. It's been a problem in hospitality. It's been a problem in a lot of places when it comes to how you truly onboard, engage, and develop people and build sustainable systems inside of organizations. But we also are in a time when technology and knowledge and the proliferation of knowledge through masterclass, through LinkedIn learning, through all the different things that are out there now, we can tap into understanding. You look at a Dan Pink, you look at a Malcolm Gladwell, look at David versus Goliath, Outliers, books that he's written. We know more about human behavior and human psychology than ever before. And we also have technology and proliferation of information that we've never had before. And so now I think the time is now that we have technology and knowledge about what ultimately drives human behavior and what people want to do. And we haven't necessarily had that in a scalable, affordable manner over the last 20 years. And I think it is scalable, and I think it is affordable, and I think there is technology, and there are resources out there now that weren't there 10 years ago, weren't even really there 5 years ago, but they're there now. And we can start putting strong foundational practices in place and hiring the right people that understand the right mindset, that understand how to put processes and organizations together to ultimately sustain this type of mindset, this type of behavior. So I know I'm talking a lot. I got to quit. I know I'm not the guy that ultimately dominates a room, but I'm super passionate about this. And I've worked in automotive forever, but I've also had the pleasure to work in other industries where a lot of these practices have been put into place, and I've seen it work, and I've seen how it works, and I know that it's possible in this industry.
Hey, Brian, you kind of jumped on the same thought I had, which is it's human nature to be a little short-sighted and ignore behavior. And usually what happens to change it is something catastrophic. Go to the doctor, he says, if you don't do this, you're going to die. And unfortunately, or fortunately, our industry just went the other way. Everybody made so much damn money that it was really hard to logically explain, well, it's not going to last forever, and maybe we should adapt while times are good and the cash is flowing. But it's just human nature to be short-sighted, and you'll find, like most things, and definitely in our business, people say one thing and their behavior is the exact opposite of what they say. That's the thing we have to always battle, and we have to avoid being cynical ourselves.
100% agree.
I've got a great line to that. My wife says a statement to me every once in a while. The Titanic's going down, and you jump off the Titanic into a lifeboat. Is that any better? No, you're just moving the needle around to where you're still at danger. And this business does it all the time. We move from one to another, but we never move out of the danger zone for a number of different reasons.
It settles it. If the AutoHub sponsors a cruise, I'm bunking with Peter Smith because he'll let me have the lifeboat.
I think John had a real hand up there. Go ahead, John.
Well, I really enjoy the real hand. Not that I'm not into technology. But, in listening and in my own experience over the number of years that I've had my own business and having been in the automotive industry, when it comes to change, fear is one of the big factors. The fear of change. Oh my God. There's a lack of vision, right? Many people don't have the vision of what it can be. The other is lack of leadership. Lee Iacocca, a number of years ago, wrote a book, Where Have All the Leaders Gone? Then there's the issue of culture. Then we have, within dealerships, the lack of proper communications between people on the same team, and then interdepartmental communications. We lack processes that are documented and adhered to. And we don't necessarily have the right relationships, again, within members of the team and within or with other departments in a dealership. So these have been factors and continue to be factors of why we're not moving forward.
Well, I think a lot of it too, John, is just sometimes people take on too much change at once. I mean, there's a number of books. Atomic Habits is one of them, but there's many on, trying to change 20 things simultaneously is probably not a good plan. You probably should look at, say, that top 5 and start with top 1 and figure that out. I mean, I think that's another thing that really eludes a lot of people when changing themselves, but more importantly, organizations, is let's pick 5 things that maybe we should change and start with number 1 versus starting to change everything, which I think is part of the issue too.
I can tell you that when I worked in the field of psychosocial rehabilitation and took some training through Sargent College at Boston University, one of the interesting things was that in order to help people recovering from psychiatric illness, to help them get to the point where they can live more independently, we worked on teaching skills, however, and teaching life skills. However, the interesting thing was that we had to focus on one skill at a time. Now, many of the people that we're dealing with don't necessarily suffer from psychiatric illness. So they're capable of doing more than one thing at a time, hopefully. But again, the plan has to be laid out, and someone has to lead the charge. And people have to buy in, and they have to buy in from the top. And as we say here in Atlantic, Canada, just remember, a fish rots from the head down. So if the dealer principal or the CEO is not on board and is not buying in, how do you expect the rest of the people to buy in?
100%. Wendy, you haven't talked for a bit. What's your thought?
Was that me?
Yeah.
Did you say me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I hate to throw this little nugget in there, but you know, and I don't mean this. Dare I say that the automotive industry has always been a boys' club? Okay, I said it. I can't. It always has been. Many times, you guys, and I've observed this. You know, like when I go to conventions, I used to sit in the front row, support my vendor friends. We only started going a year ago. But then I moved to the back because I like to watch the crowd and I like to watch the dealers that are in the room and see what and how and when they engage and interact with the presenters, right? I'm telling you, if there aren't a couple other dealers in the room that are on whatever it is, they want no part of it. Example, Courtney and Brad Pascal, when service and sales BDC marry, right? So, Courtney was making reference to, I don't remember what tool she uses, driving sales, maybe, I don't know, some sort of reporting something or other that I was not familiar with. And one of the dealers started interacting with her about that because they were familiar. It was, right? He had some subjective feedback. So, and then they talked about other things. I'll be darned, not one person went up to Brad and Courtney at the end of the presentation, but a handful crowded around that dealer who had engaged with the speakers, right? Which was really odd. But anyway, my point is, many times I think everybody sits around and waits and watches who else, because as a vendor, guys, as a trainer, as a consultant, what's one of the first things they ask you? What are some of the big guys you're working with? Who are you working with? Who are your dealers? Who's doing it? Who's doing whatever you're presenting? If it's onboarding, if it's a training, if it's coaching, if it's whatever, if it's software, who's doing it? So you have to have the conversation with the right people that are going to do what's right simply because it's the right thing to do. And it's a proactive solution to the never-ending saga of the same old thing that's plaguing your dealership and stunting your growth, in my opinion. It could be as simple as that.
Jeff.
That is, yeah. Wow, you know, it's funny, you reminded me of something. When Larry was out here doing some training, which I can't believe he has been doing more training in Canada, but we were at one of his, I think it was in Calgary, I can't remember. And there's Ian and I sitting in the back. And it might have been here, it doesn't matter. And they had he had a full room of people. And they're bringing their salespeople here to learn how to do things and everything else. And the problem just doesn't lie with the dealer. The problem lies with attitudes throughout. So there was a guy in the back. I think he's a GSM of a Lexus store. He's sitting in the back, and you mentioned sitting in the back. He's got his laptop open. Is he taking notes about what Larry had said? No. Is he writing down his thoughts? No. He's ordering cars. So his people are taking training because somebody told John Kosakos, his boss, who knows John, send your guys. And he went And basically, Larry did this great thing, and a couple of it on his sponsor reel are people from those shows. And they said what a great guy is. They fixed up. They went back to the dealership, and what did that? I'm going to ask all of you to tell me quickly, not all at once. What did that sales manager tell him?
Oh, forget what you learned there, and let's keep doing what we're doing.
Let's keep doing what we're doing. Don't worry, that was great stuff. Okay, guys, go see that guy. Tell him this, and that. He was so checked out. It was amazing. And I'm actually, Larry's a much nicer guy than me. I would have said, hey, Joe, what do you think of that? And he would have gone,
Hey, Jeff, can we tie the comments together with my good and great friend, John Lotka? Any manager that doesn't embrace making their people better needs some of those drugs that John used to, give out to people that were mentally damaged. Do we agree, John?
I agree.
The problem lies in that things come too easy to too many people in this business. And when it's hard, they just get turfed or they leave and they come back when it's good. We have a show today about being a trailmaker and a trailblazer and a troublemaker. And the whole concept behind this was to say, here's I'm going to be a trailmaker because I'm going to do this to help the industry. And we recommend you do this to help the industry. This is new and great. And we keep going back to, let's do it properly, but it's too easy right now. And all of us can stay on this call all day long and share stories of people we've heard and what their experience was by, you don't have to do it properly right now.
Hey, Jeff, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you just made my brain work, and that's not easy to do. I came in late to this program, I apologize, but the title of it is Trailblazers. The one thing that I believe is lacking, and I know my girl Wendy will agree with me, and that is absolutely crucial to anybody that's a trailblazer, is courage. If you're the first person out there, if you're the person leading the way, if you're the person taking the shot, you got to have some courage. And I think everybody will agree with me that courage is not always the first thing you think of when you think of auto sales management. It's almost like they'd rather tuck in and cover their ass and just not get fired. Anybody disagree? I think you got to be courageous.
Yeah, I mean that brings me then. Remember, like you talk about books and movies, like Moneyball, right? The greatest line in that movie is from Steinbrenner. It says that the first one through the wall is always the bloodiest, right? And so it's hard, right? A lot of times in that instance, Billy Beane probably wouldn't have done what he done had he not lost Giambi and all those players and was up against salary cap and was forced to do what he did, right? So it is tough, right? If you're already successful. Success doesn't necessarily breed success in this industry, long-term success. You have to really continue to evaluate. And I'll raise my hand and say, first and foremost, like, I'm not one of the guys like AutoNation CEO 15 years ago that stood up and said the day of the dealership is done, brick and mortar's done. I don't believe in the Tesla model. I don't believe in Carvana. I believe dealers are here to stay. I really do. But however, they have to evolve to be digitally driven, but personally delivered. And that's really what it's all about. It's about making sure that they're understanding that people still want to go belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball. We just have to provide a better experience. People really don't want Carvana. They don't want to buy the second biggest investment they make in their lives online. There might be a few that do, but even then it's still only like 2%. So I'm not one of the guys that's saying dealerships are going to go away or whatever. We just have to evolve. We have to be like the shopping mall. We have to be experience focused. We have to be people focused. And there certainly are strategies to be able to execute on that.
But Brian, you don't want to evolve to the point of failure. Moneyball was the story of how the Oakland Athletics couldn't compete, and they used analytics. Now, I love baseball, and right now I'm not the happiest baseball fan because I think, like most sports, they're destroying the game. Everybody's trying to get a home run. The idea of moving runners around the bases and playing small ball disappeared. So you had to evolve and say, maybe we want different kinds of players, but not lose the essence of the game. And the essence of our business is people. And if we don't keep our employees happy and they don't keep our customers happy, we're not going to have a damn business to worry about. So I agree with you evolving, but not evolving to the point where we lose all connection. That's one of the dangers of AI. It's a fabulous idea until everybody's talking to robots all day long.
And if I could throw something in, I think one of the things that we want to do as well, or we should be doing, and what I do with dealers that I work with, is we try and simplify things. And there was a quote by a fellow named Charles Mingus: making the simple complicated is commonplace. Making the complicated simple, that's creativity. And I think one of the things we need to do is look at what's going on in dealerships. Is there a way to simplify things to make it easier for the employees and the customers?
100%. Jeff, we're almost
That
out
was
of
a
time.
really cool oblique jazz reference too to Charles Mingus, John.
You got it.
I now forgive you for enjoying hockey more than baseball, but still.
I can't think of a better sentiment to end the conversation on than that, right? Is making the complicated simple. Because that's ultimately where growth and engagement and, adoption and utilization ultimately happen, is when you make the complicated simple. And that's what we need. And that's the.
Are you saying being a disruptor?
Yeah.
I also think you got to look for examples. I mean, the one thing I always did as I work with dealers and still do today is look for examples in your life that you enjoyed. That look for ideas even from other industries that you can implement. Not all of them, but pick a few things that might work for your store and your culture. And I think part of it is that change is hard, but pick those one or two things that are changes you can actually get done, versus trying to change everything, because changing everything is scary, but also probably not possible in the short term for a lot of dealers. But we're out of time. So any final comments, Jeff, or anybody else?
I wanted to ask Wendy for her final comments, because, Wendy's been sitting there absorbing, and we've all left her in the dust for a moment.
Well, actually, it's super simple to me. And I always use a hashtag, people helping people. We have to remember that it starts and ends with people. We have to take better care of our people in the dealerships, and that's another whole show topic. But I have so many agents coming back to me that left toxic environments, both on-site and remote, with dealerships, because we are task-driven, whether it's BDC and appointments or it's selling cars, and not performance-driven or relationship-driven. So it's about the relationship and about the people, and not just selling cars.
Well, I have to tell you something, Wendy. You made a comment here quickly, and I just got to address it very quickly. I'm involved in a bit of a litigation situation right now, which has to do not personally necessarily, but with a dealership, and how they had the other side had an expert witness tell this person that, oh, you just left a toxic environment with a dealership. And my response is, the car business is toxic. And we have to realize that. And at some point in time, we're never going to fix it, because we're dealing with a bunch of people with great egos and everything else. But we can improve it. And that is a major factor. We can improve it. Everybody, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. The comments are great. We always get some really good feedback after the shows and from the podcast, from the YouTube, the post show videos that are being watched, and people just are really picking up this stuff. So thank you so much. Please tune in next week, because we have the EVs by 2025 round 2 for May 22nd. It's going to be cool, because especially with the new stuff we got. We have Regina Gentile, who is a automotive writer up here in Canada, that happens to have the greatest life. Like, oh my God, she's everywhere in the world looking at cars. Ed Bernardin, Matthew Groden from Everything Google, and Richard Flenchia. So we're looking forward to it. Leaving it close. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and for those who didn't watch the show live, I will share the link to the video. Really interesting video. Highly recommend. New book by Goggins. Very interesting, but there's a really quick video overview. But thanks for watching. Thanks for all the great input. And remember, you can change something today. Just don't try and change it all. Have yourself a great day. Thanks for watching and participating.
Happy
and
Labor
have
Day.
a great week. Happy Labor Day for all those out there celebrating. Bye for now.
Oh la la. What?
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.